Morning, Groovers. Just do the final checks before takeoff. I've disconnected from my home Wi-Fi. That's a good start. Welcome to Flight 706 to Hobart, Tasmania. It's a pleasant 10 degrees Celsius today, heading for a top of 16. That's pretty good winter weather. Mild. I am wearing a snuggly little jumper dress, but it's not that cold. Make sure we've got lip balm. Wallets. Yep, we're good to go. Settle in and enjoy the flight. I hope you brought your own snacks, beverages, and seatbelts, because we don't provide any of that. We're leaving the back cave. Yes, we are, Human Animal. Hi, Scout. Lights on. But look at the sky. You know, those dark mornings are already over. Remember back in the day when seasons took, well, especially in Tassie, where we get all 4 distinct seasons, sometimes in an hour, and definitely in a day. But it used to feel like forever, you know. It was like, let me just check my audio. Got to apologise for those of you who joined me in my cooking yesterday. Before I went live, I hadn't checked my it's better. Okay. I hadn't checked my audio, and I was running off the webcam on my new laptop, and the audio was terrible. I had my microphone attached. I just didn't set it as the audio. But anyway, we learn from our mistakes. But no one complained about how bad it was. Maybe you're just all used to me sounding terrible. Hey, Mel Mac. So the purpose of this live, even though I feel like it's time to move on, to quote Gav, who is Zav Girl, but is now affectionately known on this channel as Gav, after I called her Gav several times yesterday. I just couldn't stop doing it. My audio and visual is great this morning. Good. So, yeah, even though I think, in the words of Gav, it's time to move on, I really feel just to placate you groovers, some of whom have requested, and we were actually in the middle of reacting to Natasha Cooper when we were non-apology being uploaded to her channel. I sort of feel like just to placate you groovers, this is our opportunity to get the Natasha Cooper stuff out of our systems as well. And the best way I think for me to do it is while I'm driving, because I can't look at chat much. I focus on driving more, and it's about as much of you have asked for her to be discussed, so here we are. Obviously, there'll be some opportunities for me to look at chat when I'm not moving. The phone is a long way from my face, so reading chat, even when stationary, can be challenging. But if she does deserve our attention, let's give it to her when I'm live, and I can't really give her that much because she doesn't deserve much. But she does deserve to be called out. And many of you want her to be, so here we go. Great opportunity for you guys too in chat, because sometimes it's just not possible for me to participate with you. You know, you guys can all get it out of your system as well. Take us about 35, 40 minutes to get to town, and then probably 10, 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes in the car park. And then that's it. It's a wrap. But I figured, it's the start of a new week. Um, Hopeful and optimistic it's going to be a good one. But if there's lingering issues on a Monday morning, well, then we've got to address the elephant in the room. I'm going to hell for saying that. Oh, my God. I didn't think of that. Entendre. I think you mentioned Gav's numbers. Yeah, it slows down. But, I mean, you'd expect that. But the reality is, so many of these channels that have, the 100,000 thing, like, if you actually look at the number of views and the people participating in chats and stuff, there's sort of like a core group that are active, really. Even on little channels, like mine. And I would say that the majority of her active people have already jumped ship, I mean, there are people standing by her and she's responding to and hearting all of their comments, which just goes to show how insincere, again, her apology, in inverted commas, was, because she said she apologised to everyone that she hurt. And there's a like she did with, I mean, not just clarify that, but I'm just saying she has hurt a lot of people, and if she absolute snark, I'm Australian, like sarcasm is my first language. Her comment was beyond sarcasm, it was just downright bitchy. A triple entendre. I know, I can't believe I just said we need to address the elephant in the room. Oh my God. But we do. Or at least we need to tie up loose ends. I'm a finisher. And we started this the other night, and then breaking news, the apology landed, and we all dropped everything and went over there. But Natasha continues, in the opinion of some of my subscribers, to be, getting off scot-free. I don't really think that's the case. I was in a live yesterday where people were discussing the fact that Zav was very much the one getting reamed, and people like Natasha Cooper weren't getting a lot of airtime. And I made a comment that quite a few people agreed with, which was, I think the reason behind that is not just the fact that it was Zav who initially got the material, all the court documents and so on, which made it possible for Natasha's mod, allegedly, to steal it for the princely sum of $3 out of the Dropbox in Patreon. But the thing is, we've watched Zav Girl do reprehensible things for a long time now, and so much of it has just gone, like, despite people being horrified and speaking up about it, like, she's never really been held to account at all. And, this was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. But this is something that had been bubbling and brewing for a long time, over several years. And you can go into channels like Nonsense, and she's actually put together clips of numerous things that Zav Girl did. And Kylie Rodney is when the community really got pissed off. But she still seemed to get away with it a bit. And it's not about vengeance or anything like that. But there's only so many times you can be unscrupulous and disrespectful on YouTube before people are going to really call you out. So I think one of the reasons Zab is getting so much attention is that she not only obtained this shit, but also didn't choose to not put it out there. But also her demise in this regard, or at least her being held to account, has been a long time coming. And people are finally, I think, feeling, and I don't want to use this word in the wrong sort of context, but people are pleased that her day has come. Like, she's had to be held to account, and then everyone has waited for her to respond to see how she's handled that, and she's just continued to um, make it worse for herself. Whereas Natasha Cooper is notorious for this sort of reprehensible bullshit and has been taken off YouTube numerous times, and she keeps coming back, and she's done all sorts of shitty things that are publicly known. Like, no one is surprised with Natasha at all. Even her justifying her involvement with all of this, no one's surprised. Whereas Zav was finally held to account, and people have wanted that for a long time. She's done absolutely horrible stuff, and everyone's just basically had to sit back and watch her channel continue to grow and watch her make a shitload of money off sensationalising Kylie Rodney's story alone, let alone all the other shit she's done. And so the reason people are talking about it is because people have witnessed her shitty behaviour for a long time and seen how many people's lives she's fucked with. And I don't know, I mean, I'm sounding melodramatic, but it's Monday, I'm still finding words. But, you know, it's her day of reckoning. Natasha's had gazillions of days of reckoning, and she hasn't changed. So it's kind of like, well, what's the point in, like, other than acknowledging Natasha's a piece of shit again? You know, like, what's the point in going on, you know, and on and on and on about someone who is actually notorious for this sort of stuff? I agree, Scout. You know, and that's the thing. Oh, did I get a bit robotic? I was driving in the country. We got robots in the country. Let me know when it's not robotic again. I mean, I'm in a, you know, an area where there's not a lot of houses and there's a lot of farms, and I think you guys are all pretty used to the appalling audio quality of these lives. But yeah, people do need to be held accountable, and this is the thing. It's sort of, YouTube has been the Wild West for a long time, and we've seen so many things go on, and people for offering limp or not even apologies, and people are forgiven very quickly and so on. But there's also, in this particular situation, a line that you don't cross ever. And she crossed it. Like, I've seen this community, well, YouTube generally, be so forgiving when people have done shitty stuff. But for everyone that keeps saying, she made a mistake, people make mistakes, stop it. It was like we were talking about yesterday when I was cooking, it was a gross error of judgment. But she had several opportunities to think about, many opportunities. If this video that she'd spent so long creating, so it warranted her making money off it, you know, it's only fair I get paid for my work. How many times could a reasonable human being go, I can't show anyone this stuff? Oh, thanks, Scout. It's not like she just got it and was like, oh my God, we're going live and we can all look at this together, which would have been fucking disgusting too. She claimed she deserved to be paid because of all the time she spent on this video. But not once during all the time she spent making this video did her conscience kick in and say, I can't do this. Let's just play the audio of the coroner from the trial and talk about it. Because that's all she had to do. She didn't need to show anything, like any photographs of Gannon. If she was that interested in discussing and learning about autopsies for scientific and educational purposes, she could have played the audio from the court and they could have gone through it. It didn't need a picture book to go with it, and a picture book of the most graphic, tragic, terrible photos of a poor little 11-year-old boy who is absolutely brutalized. His killer is locked away. The trial is over. If you've got some things that popped up that you still want to talk about, show some respect to that kid and let him be. Give him the dignity that Natasha took away from him, you know? Well, sorry, the life Natasha took and the dignity that Zav took. But yeah, so Natasha, we were reacting to her, or starting to. The apology from Gav came in, and that was just woeful. And it's continued to get worse and worse. But the only thing that I really wanted to go through with Natasha's that I thought was kind of interesting is she'd seen the photos and everything, and there were so many stories bouncing around about what wasn't visible and what was blurred out and what wasn't, and were people making fun of him, but it seemed to all be this sort of, this racket, this noise from people that hadn't actually seen it themselves. It was sort of like these stories, as usual, started up, and for some reason people just took them as the truth and whatever. Now, the contents of the packet isn't what pissed me off. It's the fact that she was given that stuff and still chose to put it out there that really annoyed me. But a lot of people were really annoyed by all of these stories that were floating around, and there wasn't much evidence to sort of back any of it. I mean, even people who had seen it were saying different things. Some were saying, that you could see his genitals. Others were saying you couldn't, and it was all a bit confusing, but I also think irrelevant. Like, that was the minutiae that I didn't really give two shits about. But the thing that was interesting, I guess, with Natasha was in her little completely unapologetic statement. But who's surprised? I mean, that chick's got more front than Maya, which is a retail shop in Australia. But she did talk about how she, in preparing all this stuff for her community, had cropped photos. Which, to me, I mean, look, we know she's a lying shitbag, but I don't think she's got any reason to lie about that particular issue. But in her saying that, and she mentions it several times, to me that's indicative that there were things in the photos that did require cropping. And when it's coming out of the mouth of someone who's actually also got her grubby little hands on them, and also decided that it'd be a great idea to her Patreons, or her patrons in Patreon, I just felt it was an interesting thing to hear her talking about. But of course, she was telling everyone that to show what a great and honourable person she is. But the rest of it was just a load of codswallop. The usual Natasha Cooper, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, fuck the rest of you sort of attitude, you know? Um, and whatever she's gone on to say since would be equally as insipid as far as I'm concerned, which is why the only attention I'm giving her is on her live where I can't really engage with chat until I get to the car park at work. And until then, I can just deliver a monologue, which at some point will turn into a soliloquy. But I sort of wanted to at least cover it one last time. So it's done and dusted. I can get on with my day. And those of you who wanted me to call her out, well, here we go. Here we are. Let's do it. Hey, Unseen Thinkers. I'm Andy Hall. But I don't really know what else there is to say about Natasha. Like, I'm not going to be going live for months on end about her. Just like I'm not going to cover Gav unless there's some Gav development. The only thing I have thought about doing is doing a letter to Gav. To just sum up the issues that we've discussed and the points that I've made, and just a clear, coherent statement. But then I've got so many things going on in my life right now that I could put my time and energy into. So the idea of the letter is pretty pointless. Well, no, the idea of the letter is not pointless, but the writing of it is. I think I've said everything I need to say. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward thing. Everyone is responsible for their actions. Actions have consequences. Yes, a mountain of shit has been dropped over your head, Gavin. To a lesser extent, but still a mountain of shit, Natasha. Neither of you have shown any humility. You can tell us over and over and over again that you're accountable, but actions speak louder than words, and you both are very good at word salads. What actions have you taken to show that you're holding yourself to account? And the ramifications of your actions are out of all of our hands. I'm not going to ever encourage mass reporting, cancel culture, whatever. I'm a big believer in let it be. Like, there are ramifications and they will unfold as time goes on. But the reality is Zav is always going to be known from now on, no matter what she does with her platform. She's always going to be known as the girl who put autopsy photos of an 11-year-old boy and crime scene photos out on the interwebs for every seedy motherfucker on the planet to get their grubby little hands on. Like, I don't think people are going to forget this and move on, as Zav keeps saying. But I'm not a believer in flogging a dead horse either, you know, like, I think a lot of people will continue to discuss it. But there's probably a million other things happening online that warrant our attention. But as far as Natasha goes, I think part of the reason that people have been so blasé about calling her out is nobody was surprised. And a lot of people were surprised with Gav. A lot of people didn't think what Gav did in the Kylie Rodney thing was a bad thing, you know. Her channel grew because of that shit. But it certainly made a lot of her supporters finally, despite many people, including myself, talking about things that she'd done. I talked about her and how she handled Kylie Rodney. I talked about her and how she handled Cleo Smith. I even went to her channel with the Cleo Smith stuff, and she and her mods pretty much treated me like I was the piece of shit while she sat there with an innocent man's photo up on her screen. A man who was already suing the media for putting his photo out there. So I do think that's why. And I also think that a lot of people, no one's surprised that Natasha got her hands on those photos. The fact that it was Zav who put them out there. I mean, if the court hadn't released the shit, it wouldn't have happened. But the fact is, there was a chain of events. It then landed in the hands of someone who didn't at any point in time think about whether or not putting it out there was a good idea. And this whole, like, naively thought no one would take it out of Patreon. You can't be serious. You've been on YouTube long enough to see what people will do. But then this is also a girl who was happily doxing teenagers during her coverage of Kylie Rodney and saw nothing wrong with that either. Nothing is naive about her. It's strategic. But yeah, if it's made a few of her supporters wake up and smell the roses, well, they're the ramifications. But I think that is why there's been a disproportionate reaction between her and Natasha. And to a lot of people too, you know, the Natasha Coopers of YouTube, I mean, they're just shitbags. Like, most people just see her now as a blip. Like, what's the point in talking about her ad nauseum? Zav was building a channel and heading towards 100,000 subscribers and getting the play button, and had made a lot of money off the Kylie Rodney case, and had done numerous other just fucked up things, and it finally caught up with her, and a lot of people were already gobsmacked that she was just, you know, untouched by all this shit she'd done. Shallow, hello, beautiful. I've got so many things I want to say to your beautiful messages. The Nancy Grace thing. I just saw one-way ticket to hell. From now on, for a while, I definitely can't look at chat, but yeah, I mean, people are angry. Joman in our community wrote a really long string of things on my channel under a couple of my I can't remember if it was under a live or my community post, and I agree with what he said, but Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say but. Well, I'm not saying sorry. I agree with the content of what he wrote. The issue is, though, patience is a virtue, and bless Joman, his brain, he can move from one thing to the next thing pretty quickly. I feel the dust is already settling on this, and I'm a big believer in, just give people time, because there's a lot of hurt people out there, and knowing her history and how tired the community was becoming of her behaviour, which was just escalating and becoming way more sensationalistic and scandalous and voyeuristic. And, she starts doxing teenagers and accusing YouTubers of all sorts of shit. And at one point, agreeing that Kylie Rodney may have never even existed, and, no shame in putting an innocent man's photo up, like all sorts of things. There's a lot of hurt people that give them a chance to process all of this, But yeah, sure, forgiveness, love, compassion, they're all good things. I agree. Let people have their moment to process all of this. And unfortunately, Gav has made it worse too, because if she had have put out a sincere apology and not continued to double down, triple down, whatever, keep deflecting, blaming other people, only and not actually speaking with any humility or decency to the people that are hurt by her behaviour, even though she allegedly is sorry and apologised to everybody that she hurt. But it'll be, yesterday's news soon enough. I'm just a little bit more patient, I guess. I'm not about wreaking havoc and seeking revenge and all that sort of shit. But I'm watching a very big community come together for the first time and all agree this was uncool. And that's really not even close to the truth of the matter. Like, it was fucking fucked up. And it's been lovely to see the community, and not just the drama, the true crime community, but so many other communities that have been affected as well. It was lovely to see everyone agreeing, except for a couple of idiots, that this was not okay. It's restored my faith. And it's a big deal for people who have been living and breathing and moving around in this community for the last 5 or more years, just to see for the first time a shitload of people all speaking up and all basically agreeing that this stuff can't continue in our community. Josie! I have to say your name with, in a way with the inflection because of the exclamation mark. Josie! Hello! Got plenty of time to chat through this, chat about this in the car park too, guys. So if you've made comments already, please copy paste them and drop them in chat when we're in the car park so I can have a look at them as well. But yeah, so definitely not knocking Joman's point of view. I agree with him. For everything, there is a season, though, and this is the season. And for me, seeing so many people aligned on this, 99.99%, and this is a community that historically has just all been division. Different sides, there's always talk about, so there were no sides on this. It was an entire community, bar a couple of stragglers who really, I think, just saw an opportunity to farm some of Zav's, let's call it Gav again, gave subscribers who were like, where do we go now? And oh my God, Laura, seriously, life perplexed. If you want to speak up for Zav, that's great, but don't crap on like the two of you have been best mates forever. Like, that's something Laura always does when she jumps in to be the, the hero to stick up for people that have done shady shit, aka Molly Golightly. I mean, yes, they did have an on again, off again friendship, but they were arch enemies when the whole Molly Golightly thing went down. And suddenly she's there defending Molly. It's like, we know this isn't sincere. Like, but she talks like she and Zavgirl have been BFFs for years. And she always does that. And she's like, but I know Zav. You don't. You didn't have an issue with her when she was doing all sorts of unscrupulous shit on YouTube. You messaged her and got her phone number and rang her and said, hey, I'll be your buddy because you need one right now. And don't get me wrong, she does need a friend right now. But one of her real life friends. But I mean, if Laura and Zav had been doing panels together for years and collabs and all the rest of it, and now she's defending her action. I know Zav. Zav and I are friends. Yeah, you've been friends for like 3 minutes. Stop it. And you might want to rethink. See, now this is the proper school holiday car park scenario. Why was it so packed last week? This is school holidays. Oh, we've got an AD here. Hello. Hey, German. I was talking about you. I conjured you up. The sensitivity training. Yeah, and I saw that people, when she said she's moving on, people were like, you sure? Because didn't you say you were going to be doing sensitivity training? A couple of people were saying they've done it and it was really good and they thought it was a great thing to do and all the rest of it. But I'm still in shock that as human beings, we've got to a point where we even need to have something like that. Because as far as I'm concerned, if people are like lacking any empathy, compassion, whatever, you can't teach them that. I think if it retrains people to see that, other people are easily hurt or whatever, however someone explained it to me, like if it's a bit of a reminder that your behaviour might be getting a tad shitty or whatever, but I don't know if it's of any benefit to someone that just doesn't have a heart. Is she going to take a knee next to show support for foyers? I don't even get where she's going there. I don't either. I don't know what she's doing. Hang on, Shanna. I'll roll up. I'll scroll up. But see how quickly we've, again, abandoned the elephant in the room? This live was meant to be about Natasha. I said that earlier and was like, I'm going to hell, and I've just said it again, my God. All right, let me see what comments. Yeah, so she's dropped from losing 100 an hour to 100 a day. I think basically everyone active on her channel, except for her band of merry supporters, are pretty much gone now. Yeah, and that's why. I mean, I think Mandy's point too. Like that's why like I keep being asked to do a live about Natasha, but I mean, no one's surprised by her in this. And what's the point? Like she's continually kicked off YouTube and comes back again with these little non-monetized channels and stuff. Like I don't think anyone really gives a shit about her. Yeah, it's fucked up, but who's surprised that she got her grubby hands on it? And then when she decided to talk about her behaviour, sat there in her recliner all smug and refused to take accountability. Like, I mean, what else can we say? Surprise, surprise, Natasha was Natasha. But at least in this live where I was focusing on traffic and stuff like that, I've mentioned her name a few times, and hopefully those of you in our community who wanted me to cover it will be happy with my coverage, because this is about it. Now, I mean, if somebody like Gray Hughes had done it, well, of course, we would all be in a flurry, just like I think the community was with Zav, because even though we knew she was a terrible, terrible YouTube creator for a long period of time, like the fact that it got to this point, um, is why so many people have been talking about it and why so many people have strong feelings about it. And if we just give everybody time to process it all, and ultimately they'll find it in their hearts to forgive maybe, or to move on, or whatever happens. But, you know, the dust is settling. I feel it, but it's okay to give people time. Some people have been unbelievably hurt by her for years, so it's not all going to be resolved in a week. Oh, you've been here for ages, Nadine. Stop that, Shanna. I can't believe you sent me that. I think I'm familiar with her work, but I will respond to your messages later. Okay, Nancy Grace ripped them a new one saying whoever posted those photos online and profited just purchased a one-way ticket to hell. I'm sure Natasha will just respond with another passage from the Bible. That's how she started her. Well, she's not apologizing, but when she started her little video about, or live about, how fabulous she is and she doesn't think she did anything wrong, someone sent her a quote from the Bible, and I was like, can we read out the quotes from the Bible that would condemn this sort of behavior? Like, don't just cherry pick the bits of religion that work in your favor and ignore the other stuff. It's all or nothing if you're truly of faith, I would have thought. I mean, I'm not, but for those who are, if you're just picking out the bits that you like and ignoring the bits that say you're a shitbag, then your passage from the Bible is irrelevant, sir. They do. And this is what people have seen for such a long time. We've all seen it in our community, and enough. Like, it's an incredible thing that people can make money on social media platforms, but with that comes responsibility. And how anyone can sleep straight in bed at night when they are making money off being an asshole, but that's just the way the platform is, you know. The fact Zav only loved the comments defending her deplorable actions was enough for me to see through. I agree. Don't sit up there and say you're apologising to everyone you hurt, and then pretty much ignoring everyone that you hurt, or people there are so many people with reasonable comments. Like, there's very few people on there just calling her a cunt, like I did the other night watching her apology, but that was a live reaction. And if she has responded, it's with snark or threatening to, yeah, I'm not even going to go down that road. I'll get really angry. I've got to get my head into a good zone for work. But she's emotionally blackmailing people too. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And that's why people are still upset. And in the next week, hopefully, the dust has settled and people are moving on. But I'm patient and I'm happy to give people an opportunity, because I know there are so many people, not just in the true crime community, but other communities on YouTube who have been directly affected by her actions. And I'm not just talking about the Gannon stuff. And healing takes time. And when you're then presented with a non-apology and people being blamed and people being thrown under the bus and no accountability, and then snark, and it just goes on and on and on, people aren't going to heal in 24 hours. They're just not. Has Carly been found though? Isn't that the? I think the live I was listening to yesterday, the news broke that she'd been found. Is that right or not? It does always come. You're right. It's good to have you here, Joman. For now, very short-term memories. That's what Zav's banking on. Yeah, and again, this thing about it. It is going to take time. I mean, as weird and as back to front and up to upside down and bizarro and everything else that YouTube can be, it is still a reflection of real life communities. And the reality is something like this, if it happened in real life, isn't going to be forgiven and forgotten in 24 hours. It just isn't. You've got a lot of people finally feeling like when they've spoken up against her previous reprehensible shit, that finally she's been held to account, and then she's just shat on everyone from a great height several times. But with Natasha, Natasha gets removed from YouTube for doing this shit, and then somehow she's back again. Like a phoenix from the flames, she's back. And I think people just feel like, what's the point in carrying on about it? She's just one of those random people that continually disgraces themselves in a community, has no shame, reappears and does it again. And we've seen it happen over and over again. Better late than never. Cement shoes. How you doing, Groover? She thinks he's a fucking star with a oh yeah, we did the sensitivity before. Is she gonna? Oh, we saw that one too. You can teach intellectual empathy. Well, true. But I also picture people being taught ethics and just sitting there rolling their eyes, like. And I think the key word there is intellectual, Joman. If you haven't got that, and it's not going to be like a little sensitivity training 101, 6 classes, and you're done. I would imagine it requires pretty intensive. I know, I'm horrible. She means she's going to sensitivity to the fact she's effing up her channel and brand training. I mean, if she does do that, I don't think it's a bad thing. She fucking needs to do something like that, clearly. But this is why being a human being and learning from your mistakes is a good thing. That's how we evolve. But she didn't actually say she's doing it. She said she's looking into it. Some YouTubers literally could keep their mouths shut and save themselves, except they can't help themselves. Yeah. I mean, even I'm guilty of that, I reckon. Yeah, I wasn't shocked to see Natasha recline just as low, quite frankly. Exactly. So yeah, that's why this is the Natasha live, and we've talked about Gav more than her, which shows how little any of us really cares. But I did want to do it because I've had a few people ask me to. So we've done it. Natasha Cooper. Oh, Nancy Gray's pop maker. Yeah, I didn't really know what to say about the Nancy. I mean, I don't. She and Ashley Banfield, and I mean, whatever. As Natasha said, when it comes to my judgment day, I'm only answerable to God. Oh, yeah, okay. I can't go down a religious road, but I think some people might end up being very disappointed, or some people might be incredibly shocked, one or the other. And I'll be in the incredibly shocked category. That's awesome, Nadine. It's okay, Tori. I'll pray for you. Thoughts and prayers. Natasha's channel profile photo says all I need to know: a bloody mouth biting a rolled wad of money. Really? I haven't looked that closely. Yeah, when actors were hurting others and getting sex addict therapy. Yep. How about you just, self reflect and realize you're a shitty person and just own it? I, I'm naive. I have flaws. I'm going to get help. I mean, the community has spoken. Where's your confusion? Zabby did a bad thing. That's at the end. Listen to the people that are writing thoughtful, intelligent comments about why what you did is shit. And yeah, if you need to do a course or whatever to learn how to not do shit things again, then hop to it. But you don't need to go to a bloody therapist to be told what you did was shit. An entire community, except for a couple of people who saw an opportunity to farm some more subscribers, all agreed that what you did was shit. So, okay, I'm shit. And now, because I'm shit and I'm clearly incapable of working out why I'm shit, I'm going to speak to someone to find out why and how I can not be shit anymore. And I'm not going to be crapping on about Gav forever. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the whole thing. But it would have just ended with an action, a simple action, and I'll maintain this till the cows come home. Gannon, I'm sorry. But there was a mountain of bullshit before that, and there's been a mountain of bullshit since. And it's moved now into emotional blackmail, which is just pathetic. She's still not owning it. She's now implying people are only going to be happy if she's no longer on the planet, and that really annoys me. She's now re-victimizing people who've lost loved ones because they chose to check out. You don't make a comment like that. It's fucked up. I'm sorry. It's fucked up. And this is why people continue to get angered again. And this is why it's taking a while for the dust to settle. How she's handled this is she's just continually making it worse and creating more victims, which is what she's renowned for doing. Yeah, I agree, Cement. She got it all wrong. Yep, exactly, Josie. She has a pattern. It's not a one-off. She does it for the money. Now it backfired. She's in therapy. And it could have backfired with Kylie Rodney. It could have backfired with Cleo Smith. It could have backfired with the Icked Mel stuff, the Zanime stuff. The list goes on and on. It's just that this is when it finally backfired, and a lot of people are finally, I think, seeing ramifications of her actions coming to the forefront of conversation. Because so many people have tried to call this shit out in the past and it's just been swept under the carpet while her channel has just grown exponentially and her bank account has just filled up. So people feel vindicated. They feel relieved that this is hopefully the end of this stuff that she's been doing for years. But it's going to take some people more than a week to get over it, especially when she's continually rubbing salt in the wounds. Carly's been found, but nefarious circumstances. Okay, people are already living over it. It's Idaho 4 2.0. There's always got to be something. Did I hear some wrong? What rises from the ashes? Isn't it a phoenix from the flames? What is it? Hey, wake the truck up. I knew it was from the ashes as soon as I said it, but flames is more dramatic. Natasha comes back more times than Jason and Michael Myers and Beetlejuice. The recliner was. She's got a new one, cement shoes. That was the only interesting thing about watching her the other day. She's got a new recliner. I know, the stupidity. And to also have an opportunity to salvage it and not. Like with every new community post, closing comments on the apology itself, deleting things, putting posts on her community page saying none of this is monetized, but you can turn it off after the event. But also, she had links to her merch and PayPal under her apology as well that disappeared suddenly, but only she could disappear them. Yeah, and Laura has become such a massive echo chamber. I had the misfortune of watching her the other day because I'm asking. Emily Flotilla told me I promised I'd do a reaction to Laura, and I want to, but I feel like doing this whole Zav girl thing is pointless. But I went into her chat to see her justifying all of this bullshit, and she was just deleting so many comments, and so were her mods. It was unbelievable, unbelievable. And now she's all fired up about unknown Capone being cloned again. Let's see how long she craps on about it, because she was saying this story with Zav broke last weekend, and on Tuesday she was saying, it's been going on for so long, when's it going to stop? It's like, it's been 3 days, for fuck's sake. Is she going to talk about unknown Capone being cloned again for more than 3 days? I bet you she does. Zav looks like a fat Nicole Kessinger. You nailed it. I just don't want to see her in a brown bikini. I mean, I didn't want to see Nicole Kessinger in it. I don't want to see anyone in a brown bikini. A simple 1-minute video stating, I apologize to Gannon along with his family who I've deeply hurt while they're trying to heal. Yep, I agree. Classic case of fuck around and find out. Yep. Also, she would have earned my respect if she said there's no excuse for what I did. It was wrong and I'm ashamed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Instead of, I'm naive. No, you're not. You worked out a formula to make $30,000 a month, doxing innocent teenagers, alleging Kylie Rodney didn't even exist, and numerous other shitty things. Zav Girl was making 30 grand a month for that stuff, while in the Quinton Simon case, people were scouring through gazillions of tons of rubbish to find Quinton Simon's tiny little body and getting paid probably the same amount of money a year. That's the truth of the matter, and that's where people's pain lies. Deep pain. Disgusted at what she did. Everyone's disgusted with what she did. But the fact that money was rolling in like that while people were getting paid less than that per year, or maybe that amount per year, to try to find the remains of a baby boy, scouring through people's rubbish in the heat. There's the perspective. There's one example of why people are so hurt about this stuff. And her lack of humility and the snarky comment that she made to me, let alone everybody else, she just keeps piling it on. She keeps ripping the band-aid off and rubbing more salt in the wounds. So yeah, the dust will settle. It's just going to take a little bit longer. 2. She is. Well said. It's a painful. It is painful to soul search, and I doubt Zav understands what it actually means. In my opinion, she's still deceived by her ego, trying to protect her from that pain. Yeah, I really liked everything you wrote. I mentioned that when I was live earlier. Well, I'm live now, but when I during my live earlier, you wrote some great stuff, Jamin, and I agree with you. I don't know if you've seen my response. The only place where I disagree is I'm a bit more patient than you, and I understand more about what this woman has done, and her history on here. So I understand why everyone is still not quite ready to go down the love and compassion road. Some people will, and people like me. I mean, I don't want to be talking about this forever. Like, but it's been a week, and it would have been a way shorter period of time for me to be speaking about it if she had the intelligence to handle it the way 99% of us can see. If she'd handled it that way, everyone would have just moved on. I mean, not many people are going to run over there and subscribe to her now. She's always going to be known as the girl who put autopsy photos of a child out online and then didn't hold herself to account and blamed everybody else and showed absolute disregard once again for a victim, in this instance of a horrific crime, but what she did to the victim of a terrible accident as well, what she did to an innocent man falsely accused. Yeah, no. There's a little bit of healing that needs to happen for a lot of people, and I hope that they do. She's making 50 grand off teenagers' death. No worries about the living teens she jeopardised by evading their social media, then graduated by doing this profane marketing of a dead child and numerous other things too. Like I said the other day on my live yesterday, Nonsense has done she's done a couple of lives, videos showing all the things that Zav has done, and it's pretty eye-opening. And there's also more. Like it's not the tip of the iceberg. She's covered most of it, but there's plenty more examples as well. And the thing is, you Google some of the teenagers who were friends of Kylie Rodney for the rest of their lives, it's going to pop up that they were possibly the murderers, according to Zavgirl. Like there were kids that had to move out of Truckee because of what happened, because of creators like Zav. Whole families had to uproot their lives and move to another state or another part of the state because of the harassment they were getting offline. Kylie's mother, speaking at Kylie's memorial, Zavgirl ripped it to shreds and criticised everything that her mum said. Like, it was just vile. So, yeah, it's been a pressure cooker situation for a long time, and finally the lid is blown off it. And everyone will find it at some point. There'll be some other bullshit happening on YouTube. But for me, I love that the communities come together on this. And I'm talking like a broad YouTube community. It's the first time I've ever seen this happen, where everyone's agreed that something fucked up happened. And that's what we want for this community. Like, we are accountable for our actions, and people need to be more responsible and think about things before they do it. And put the dollar signs and the subscribe account and the play button to one side and go, okay, ethically, this is fucking terrible. There's no way I can do this. If Zav had any ethics, when she received that information, she would have contacted the court and said, you've sent me way too much stuff and I don't want to have it in my possession. Like, how do I get it back to you? The end. Yeah. Well, I mean, Cement said 50. I thought it was about 30. Yep, she got super chats, unbelievable super chats. She's got members. She's got her Patreon wasn't really a thing, according to people who were in it prior to her putting the autopsy photos in there. Like, it wasn't the most active Patreon imaginable, and it didn't have a lot of patrons. But it's the super chats and the PayPals and buying her merchandise, and yeah. You did type 2. Yeah. Well, exactly, because she's saying every member of Patreon was refunded their $3. No, donate that. I'm pretty sure Al's got a GoFundMe. I mean, I don't want to go down the GoFundMe discussion. We can do that in another live. There's a lot to be said about things like GoFundMes, but yeah, she could have also taken. She could take monetization of all of these Kylie Rodney videos that are still making money for her. You know, like, I mean, where do we start? But she could even turn monetization off her channel until she sort of proves that she's learned from this and has moved on and is working hard to be a better person, so that people can't say, well, you're still making money. Like, just demonetize your channel for a little while. As creators, we get to choose. We get to select whether we want things to be monetized or not. She could spend a day going through her entire channel, removing salacious content, demonetizing her channel, and then start doing whatever she wants to do on her channel, and then earn that respect back without making any money whilst doing it. Because I guarantee you, the next time she does a live on her channel, her supporters will all be in there sending her super chats, telling her how much they love them, telling her how much they all love her. That's what's going to happen. No, it wasn't. And that you just summed up. Yeah, and I agree too. I agree. I don't get it either, Josie. I want to sit in my gamer chair all day. But no, that was the point of my comment back to you, actually, Jamin, pretty much, was that Rome wasn't built in a day. I agree. She was laughing all the way to the bank in a scientific and detached way. I laughed at this video title about a Zav girl called I'm Sorry, Now Buy a Hoodie. Perfect. Who was that? I'm going to shoot down to the bottom because you guys I can't keep up. Or am I close to the bottom? I don't know. Yeah, that's another elephant in the room. I'm a bit surprised. And again, I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but come on. Critical K got blasted off the YouTube platform for what she did. Molly Golightly got blasted off YouTube for what she did. And I heard someone say YouTube won't remove big creators because they're making money for them. But I mean, I'm not ever going to be even close to getting 100,000, but that's still a pretty small channel when you've got people that have got 2 million subscribers. You know what I mean? Like, is she really making them as much money that would be their reasoning for not doing something about it? I don't think so. I mean, it's fucking Google. You reckon they're relying on the money they make off Zavgirl to survive? It's such a dumb argument. She's making them money. She's not making them that much. PewDiePie, different story. Ah, that's why you've got this analytical way of thinking. Interesting. They're busy taking down videos from people like that is not entirely dedicated to kittens. I said her next merch should be a bag over her head with the eye holes cut out. She can use that to rob the bank. I saw you. You were saying that in Alex's live yesterday. Alex Erickson. Is that where you said that? I remember reading that. It was funny. Yeah, and this is the other thing too. Like, I mean, you know, a lot of us have got lives outside of YouTube and jobs and family commitments, and YouTube's a bit of a hobby, but I'm very mindful of the bulk of the people on YouTube. A lot of them just don't. Unfortunately, a lot of them are bedridden or stuck at home, not working. YouTube is their life. And you have to, when we have these conversations, we've got to factor that in. Like, I'm sorry, but the people with jobs and who see YouTube as a little hobby and a way to hang out with good people, well, and bad people, German, sorry, interesting people, we are the minority. So when we're looking at stuff like this, you've got to remind yourself who the bulk of the people on YouTube are, especially in the true crime community. I know Jen didn't see your comment that I was in chat. And when they were asking each of them to talk about the biggest mistakes they've ever made, I said, Jen Lou's only mistake is loving me in cement shoes. But bless. But that, was a good conversation, and I liked it because there are a few people on there that had a point of view that I didn't agree with, and I like that you can listen to stuff like that. It was a great panel. And I've listened to so many different people talking about it, and everyone says pretty much the same thing, just slightly different ways of saying it. I mean, Emily D. Baker's summary of it is exactly what I said too. She's just way more eloquent, and she didn't say cunt once, But like, I listened to Penguin this morning, his take on it, and yeah, it's consistent. I've even listened to some of the really shouty Americans that you guys know I have trouble with. It really it doesn't rile me, but it rattles my anxiety buttons. But I still gave them a bit of airtime, and they were all of the same view too. They just shouted a bit too much for my liking, but that's their style, and people dig it. I don't, but there's room for everyone on YouTube as long as as long as you exercise your responsibilities on there and you try to be as ethical as possible. And if you do get called out for shit, own it, man. Because this community, this platform is so forgiving. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? And don't mean that in a negative way. Like, we've seen how forgiving this community is. Why wouldn't you trust that if you do the right thing, you're going to be forgiven as well? Instead of just continually making it worse. And to not even be aware of that, to not even think, okay, this hasn't worked. I might stop yelling at people in my comments section who clearly have been hurt by this. Even though I apologise to everyone I hurt, I'm abusing those who are expressing their pain. Maybe I'll rethink this and stop being a snarky bitch in comments and only love-hearting and responding in kind to the people that are supporting me. Like, she's had so many opportunities to learn shit through all of this and nothing, not a thing. What has she learned? And she hasn't learned sensitivity yet because she's only looking into that. She's not doing it. Thank you. I'm funnier than Emily. Woohoo! I am. I make no apology for my cursey words. I don't even say cursey words. I just say cunt when I feel like it. I can't wait to see how corporate America handles these people replacing the ones retiring. Sorry, I can go on YouTube and say I'm quitting. No, I can't handle them. What is that? What's that all about? Because I think is it Nerd Report? Like, he was saying some really good stuff and then he just shouted a lot and I'm like, I can't with you. Stop shouting. It's unbearable. Who is that person making noises all the time and disturbing the chat? Don't know. My phone is in rare form, messing up left and right. Go phone. Some people are just shit humans. The moral of the story with all the shenanigans is 1, they gave her sensitive info they shouldn't. 2, YouTube provides a vehicle to put it out there, and Patreon. And 3, with all of that sensitive information in her hands, rather than going, oh, there is no way I can do this. I can't use this stuff. In fact, I need to return it to that court straight away and say to them, how did this get released to me? Like, what the fuck? But instead she's like, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 days making this terrible documentary for scientific and educational purposes and put it behind a little tiny $3 paywall. And then if it gets out, I'm going to go, well, it wasn't meant to. No, the horse has already bolted. And it wouldn't have if you hadn't have had a moral compass when you received that shit and thought there is no way in hell I'm putting that out there. If you're that interested in that stuff, Sav, you could have just looked at it. You weirdo. Who in 2023 is so naive to think if they put something behind a $3 paywall, it's not going to get out? Are you fucking serious? That is no defense to this. We constantly see shit getting out on the internet that wasn't meant to be wasn't meant to be put out there, not just on YouTube, but in real life, all the time. WikiLeaks, anybody? You know, like, come on. Nerd Report was so loud. Yeah, I thought he was too. And then when he said he had a woman coming up with him, I thought, oh, he might calm down a bit, and it just seemed to escalate. But he still had valid points. I just couldn't listen to him anymore. Penguin did a good job. What did we learn? The law is 20 years behind tech. TM your vagina pic, so if you die by a killer, people like her can't FOI your vagina. And that's the focus of this channel, is why social media is so destructive and laws need to catch up. No, and they shouldn't have been. And most intelligent people know that the very first live I did on this was the core issue was that she got her hands on it in the first place. The thing is, though, more than one person can have fucked up along the way with this. Like, more than one person could have done the wrong thing. So, yeah, the court putting it out there, really fucking bad, because none of this would have happened if they hadn't have done that. And whoever did release it is probably not working there anymore. But the buck doesn't stop there. They then got put in the hands of someone who had a choice about what they were going to do with it. And they made a very bad choice, a very stupid choice. And they completely ignored and disrespected that little boy and his family and friends. And they got called out. And instead of being a decent human being and nipping the whole thing in the bud, and there would have still been outrage even if she had have nipped it in the bud, but it would have eventually died down. And everybody knows on YouTube the best way to do anything is to speak with your thumb, like unsubscribe and don't go back there, you know? But people that are saying it's entirely the court's fault, well, yeah, that's where the chain of terrible things started. But it doesn't absolve Zav from any guilt because she made a choice, a really, really bad one. And it kicked her in the ass. But to see the whole community beyond true crime, lots of communities all coming together and agreeing on this was really refreshing. It's restored my faith in this platform, that as a community, we are starting to stand up when people cross lines. We're not dividing and, you know, there's them and us stuff going on. This was a whole community going, you fucked up. Now handle it. And unfortunately for her, she's just continued to rub salt in the wounds and made it worse. But it will die down. It's definitely going to die down on my channel. Hi, Emily. I mentioned you before about how I promised I'd react to Laura. I'm going to wait for... I'm definitely going to do a Laura reaction. I just don't know if I can be fucked doing another Zav Girl thing. And plenty of people have already reacted to her and called her out and spoken to her and the rest of it, and she's just clueless. And I know I made a promise, but are you okay if I react to her doing something else really stupid? Because we know there'll be something else. Like, I think it's time for all of us to, it doesn't bother me if you guys still mention it in comments and chat and stuff, but in terms of more lives on these two people, Zav and Natasha, I think we're done. There will be ramifications. Shit's going to happen. I have no control over it, and I'm not going to get you guys to all buy 30-foot flamethrowers and start marching the streets going after them. It's going to catch up with them, and that stuff's out of our hands. It doesn't matter how much we talk about it. It's going to happen, so... I don't think so, wake the truck up. But... No, I'm aware of that, Joman. I mean, sorry, but being on YouTube, I'm talking about our community and how we've never, ever come together. But yeah, the story went international, no doubt about it. But there's not community, like no one in Tasmania is holding Zavgirl to account other than me, as far as I know. I'm just talking about YouTube, seeing our community come together on something was wonderful. As horrible as the circumstances were, it was really nice to see everybody just go, no, this is where we're drawing the line. And it was refreshing because there has been so much sparring and infighting going on YouTube for years that we've all had to witness. But to see everyone come together on this, except for a couple of people who see an opportunity to get some more subs, was really refreshing and exciting. It is. And it's about bloody time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do have to go to work. There are people talking about whether or not there's options for like a bit similar to Gabby Petito's family going after Brian Laundrie's parents for emotional distress. But from what I can gather from Landon and Al, I don't think they would necessarily. But I mean, I don't know how much emotional distress it's causing them. A lot, I would imagine. I mean, it's out there now for the rest of their lives. They can't do anything about it. But yeah, I don't know. I think Emily D. Baker might have touched on it and maybe Peter Tragos, but yeah, we're not all gore crows and death vultures. I've got to go, Groovers. Yeah, no, I saw that too, Emily, and that's where I've just gone, I can't be bothered with this anymore. That's disgusting. And now she's re-victimizing families and friends of people who have done that. It's just add some more victims to your hit list. But guys, I got to go. I have to start work. I have clients needing my help. I've got to get my brain in that zone, and I've got a minute to be in my office. So have a great Monday, or everyone who's in Monday already. For those of you who still have some weekend left, enjoy it. And thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you all again very soon. And I do love you guys, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Even you, Joman. Bye, everybody.